Hey everybody, Joe Joseph here for thedailySheeple.com, and this is your news shot. And I'm coming to you live, giddy as a schoolboy, because something happened to my wife and I that we've only dreamed of happening. And it's all because, after you do this kind of stuff for a very long time, one thing that you always kind of go to on a regular or consistent basis is polls, okay? So polls are always there to justify one's point, whether it's arguing for something or against it. And then they use these numbers to justify their positions, which is pretty cool. And you go to Gallup.com and check it out. I'll put the link in the description box. And you'll find there's a myriad of different polls that Gallup deals with. And, of course, they're paid for by whatever industry, whatever organization or association is looking for information. And of course, media is a big one, and so this is kind of interesting. So we've always wanted to be a part of these polls, but we never knew how to do it. And there's no way you can actually volunteer and say, ooh, me. They don't take that, right? It's totally random, I guess, and it's the way that they select this stuff. Well, interestingly enough, I go down to the mailbox today, and what do you know? There was a big old package from Gallup. And wouldn't you know it, they sent us a letter. Woohoo! Woohoo! Look at that. Okay, so in this letter, guess what it says? It says, Dear Angela. Yes, it was addressed to my wife, who's actually the brains of this organization anyway, and so probably it's a good thing that she'd be answering the poll. And it says, Gallup is conducting an important study, and we need your help. And it says, we are conducting a poll to understand how people interact with the news. Oh, say it ain't so, of all topics, of all things to ask us questions on. How do people interact with the news? Why, I've got some answers for you. Okay, so it says, because you were randomly selected to participate in our poll, your responses are important, and we can't replace you with someone else. Drat. It says, your responses will represent thousands of people just like you who were not selected to participate. And it says your individual response will remain completely confidential. No. And Gallup will never release any of your personal information. Well, thank you, Gallup. But here's the kicker. We've enclosed $1 as a token of our appreciation. Well, thank you, Gallup. That's awesome. I can go to McDonald's and get any size coffee I want. Now, it says, in order that the research represents a random sample of people living within the United States, please ask the person age 18 or older in your household who will have the next birthday, me, to fill out the survey. So she doesn't even get to fill it out. I get to fill it out. And it says, once this person has completed the survey, please return it to Gallup. And thanks in advance for helping Gallup achieve our mission of helping people be heard. Well, we're going to be heard today. And I want to give you a little quick, overview of what Gallup sent. It's this big book, right, of questions about how the U.S. public views the media. So I'm going to give you a couple of things because what this tells me is very simple. The mainstream media is quaking in their boots. They are scared like you wouldn't believe. Why? Because they've seen their readership plummet. They've seen their viewership plummet. And I know that you'll see, well, cable news had the best quarter in their history or whatever. No. They'll take a snippet of some of the data that they're pulling, and they'll use that to justify that position. However, that's not true at all. They've seen their readership and viewership plummet to the point where you have massive layoffs at the New York Times. The New York Times is talking about selling off some of their property that they've had for God knows how long. I mean, here you have, this was a media empire. Right now they're like a welfare case, apparently, because they can't achieve the revenue goals that they need. And it's really become that. So let me go over some of the things that they want to know about how you feel about the mainstream media. And here's the deal. I'm going to ask some questions, and then I would love it if you would post your answers in the box below, and then I will use those answers, along with my own, to give Gallup a representation of thousands of people because you're going to be my thousands of voices. Oh, yeah. So I'm going to give you some questions to answer for me, okay? Here's an answer. This is question 6. Question 6 says, to what extent do you see political bias in news coverage? And the answers are a great deal, a fair amount, not too much, or not at all. Those are your answers. So if you feel, just type in the question and what your answer is in the comments. Question 7. Please indicate which of these statements come closer to how you personally feel. 1. Most media news organizations are careful to separate fact from opinion. And 2, most news media do not do a very good job of letting people know what is fact and what is opinion. So you have, they're careful to do it, they're not so careful to do it. Question 8. Please indicate which of these statements come closer to how you personally feel. 1. Although there is some bias in the news media, there are enough sources of news to be able to sort out the facts. And answer number 2. There's so much bias in the news media that it's often difficult to sort out the facts. And finally, question number 9. Can you think of a news source that reports the news objectively? That might be a hard one to answer. You have a yes or no, and then enter the name of the sources in the box below. So if that's what you want to do, you can answer the questions for me, and I will aggregate them all and put them in this survey going back to Gallup. And I'll do that in a week. So I'll take all the answers that come out in a week, and then we will send this to Gallup for them to enjoy with all their majesty. And hopefully, my friends, we can give Gallup an idea of just how screwed up the media actually is. How much these fake news attacks have actually done damage to the credibility of the mainstream media and actually helped our cause. But it's also had them ratchet up the fight because now you've got these big organizations that really should be the focus of antitrust, an antitrust effort, like your Googles and your Facebooks and others that have ratcheted up this, all this fake news, while we're going to have to go in here and police things and make sure we demonetize and make sure that we're things that are said are appropriate and don't offend anybody, right? And so through political correctness, they're able to turn the screws on people reporting the truth and people voicing opinions that run contrary to the propaganda. And this is how they do it. In every previous communistic takeover, fascist takeover of countries, controlling the information stream is pivotal. Controlling the way people think is pivotal. And so the best way they do it is through their media mouthpieces. And if their media mouthpieces don't have credibility, then they don't control. So they need to establish credibility. And if they can't do it peacefully and through putting out good information, then what they're going to do is they're actually going to force it. And the way they force it is they snuff out the competition. And how do they do that? They demonetize things. They say it's not advertiser friendly. They say it's offensive. And independent media, who relies on different revenue streams just to make ends meet, to pay for websites, and all this kind of stuff. You're not talking about having to pay anchor personalities and all this kind of stuff and production crews. No, you're talking about just simple expenses that are now very hard to maintain because they've ratcheted down and turned the screws on everybody. All these citizen reporters out there that can take the time to report on these things because they have this revenue coming in now are finding it harder and harder to do this because they're snuffing out the ability for citizen reporters to do it. So what this means is we have to find new and creative ways to do this. How do you do it? Well, first of all, they've made it hard because now you have independent media outlets that view this as a competition. I want more viewers. I want more viewers. I'm more credible. I'm the truth. He's the truth. This is that. Instead, what we really need to be doing is coming together and networking and highlighting each other's work and doing this to reach broader audiences, to drive more traffic, to encourage sponsorships and things like that, donations, in order to keep operations afloat. Because at this point in time, folks, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And independent media outlets all over the world should be banding together to defeat the censorship tactics by these social media giants and the mainstream media. And if we can do that, if we can set our differences aside, much like the founding fathers here in the United States did many years ago, who set their differences aside to fight a common foe, I think we can defeat this. But in the meantime, we're going to give them their data that they're looking for. Oh yeah, Mr. Gallup, we're coming for you. So put your answers in the description boxes or in the comment boxes below, and I will take those answers and integrate them into our response back to Gallup. I'm Joe Joseph. This was the DailySheeple.com's News Shot. Feel free to comment below. Please comment below. And I will see you all real soon. Take care.